Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. Yes. We got a pretty good show for you here tonight. Might not be too long. Might not be as long as last week. I know I went kind of crazy towards the end there, but I had to drop the science for you all. But we got a pretty decent show, as you can see from the thumbnail. We're going to talk, of course, NBA Finals. We're going to talk the NBA All-Star Game. I know you're wondering, why are we going to talk about that now? But we'll get to it. And we're going to talk Trevor Lawrence's new deal. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. Let's go and move to let's move to topic number 2, NBA All-Star Game. And there's a reason I'm bringing this up now, right? So obviously the NBA All-Star Game takes place in mid-season, but we're getting now to Mark, you idiot. Oh man, that was funny. Yeah, Mark just texted me. He's a funny dude. But yeah, so we're getting to the end of the season. So you start looking at all the different things, and you know that during the off season there's going to be competition committee meetings and different things going on. And every year you don't want to rest on your laurels. You're always, if you have a business, no matter what type it is, you're trying to make the product better every year, right? And because you want growth year over year. I'm not a business guy, but I'm not a business guy, but I do know that, right? So you want growth year over year in every business. And Adam Silver has been he's stuck in a bad spot. So he's stuck in a bad spot in a way. So the NBA just basically got in position. I don't know if the deals are done, but it's estimated that the new TV and streaming rights deals will get the NBA $76 billion, which is freaking crazy, right? Actually, I was talking to Mark about this, and he kept telling me, he said, Brucey, look, the next deals are going to be gigantic. And I'm like, how are these next deals going to be gigantic when the viewership numbers are continually decreasing for the NBA? Like, who's paying for that? And he kept telling me, he's like, yo, Bruce, I'm telling you, those deals are going to be gigantic. These people are going to pay. And I'm like, nah, I don't believe you. You need more people. And lo and behold, as soon as it happened, he sent me a text with a screenshot, like NBA about to do a $76 billion media deal. And I'm like, good God, why? But so not that I hate the NBA, but I'm like, to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of business sense to buy something for $76 billion when you see decreasing returns year over year. But anyway, one of the biggest things about that is the NBA All-Star Game, right? So we all loved, if you watch the NBA for years, we all loved the All-Star Game for all these years. And the All-Star Game has always been a showcase of the best players in the league, right? It happens, you get a mid-season break and all that. But over the last 10 years, the All-Star Game has gotten worse and worse. And they've been trying different things to try and make the All-Star Game better and more competitive. They tried this Elam ending nonsense, which I still don't completely understand. Did you ever figure that out, G? The Elam ending in the All-Star Game?
Nah.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on there. But you had that, and then you had they switched it up, and instead of doing traditional East versus West, they started doing it like playground or the gym, where you had two captains, and they were picking guys, which LeBron loved, because that's what he's all about, is just trying to pick his team and stack it up, right? But so you got that, and then they went back to the traditional East versus West, and guys just don't play hard anymore, and it's pretty much just like a freaking 3-point shootout and a dunk exhibition. No defense, no effort anymore, and it's terrible. And so you saw, you know what? Before I go further with that, G, why don't you give me your thoughts on what the All-Star Game has been over the last several years? First, tell me like what memories you have of the All-Star Game growing up, and then what you've seen as of late.
All right, so I look at like a lot of players playing to their strengths, and the showmanship of the All-Star game has kind of decreased. And I remember back when Shaq pretty much dunked on David
I
Robinson,
knew you were gonna say that. Yeah,
like kicked him under the
yeah, he tried
hydro,
to kill him.
like so like, and then you'll see like players that play down low, they play real extremely chippy, and now like you said, it just turned into a pretty much an exhibition game where it's just all threes and dunks, right? And
Mhm.
there's no real toughness um, displayed. Like there's no real toughness displayed. There's a lot of softball being played, so to speak.
Mhm.
But yeah, do I think it's going to change? I don't know what they can do with that. Maybe incentivize the players in their contracts. Maybe like, hey, you win X amount of dollars if you go to the All Star game and or drop X amount of points. Maybe 5 blocks if you're a big guy or something like that. You have to put these incentives in so people will want to play when it is time to play the All Star game. But until then, that's all we're gonna get is a bunch of threes and folks not trying to get hurt.
Right, right. So it's not that serious. You say Adam Silver has capitulated the integrity out of the game. So maybe he did at some point, but I disagree because over the last few years, he's been begging for these guys to try to play hard. He's had legends go in there, try to talk to him, and you'll hear in the clip that we're going to play in a few minutes here that he's doing what he can because he sees how the All-Star game, which is supposed to be one of the premier events of the NBA season, has just gone to total crap. The 2 years ago, it had the worst ratings ever for an All-Star game. Last year, the ratings went up a little bit, but they were still the second worst ratings all time. And it is a horrible watch. Now, as a guy who, is something of a sports journalist, I tried to watch the All-Star game and I was like, this thing is absolutely terrible. Like, it was really, really hard to watch. And you wonder, like, where is the competition? Like, what happened? You just watch and you see it here. Look at this. Like, there's nobody anywhere near attempting to do anything in terms of defense. So G, one of the things you said was that you feel like the showmanship is gone. And I agree because when we were coming up, that was a nice move, that nutmeg that Trey caught him with. But notice when he got in the lane, LeBron just stood there and watched him. But anyway, he's not going to play defense in the regular season. Why would he play in the All-Star game, right? But regardless, I think part of the thing that was so great about the All-Star game back in the day, what made the showmanship even better is because you were doing it against guys that were trying to stop you and were some of the best players and were the best players in the world. So you still had real competition. And like I just don't know what happened to the competitive fire that used to be in NBA players. Now, it's interesting because a lot of people are saying, well, the money is so big now that guys are concerned about getting hurt. And I'm like, well, the money was always big, right? So, for instance, relatively big. So
Charles Barkley, Pippen trying to get down to that low box. Pippen says you're not getting
right
there.
here,
Charles says I am getting there. Pippen comes around and takes the front. Charles comes back, tries to reach. And then have some shades of the game against the goal magic. Barkley, after he comes around his teammate, a little shot with the elbow.
A little pork chop, huh?
That means that the game has gotten serious, and now everybody wants to win now. And that just to let Pippen know if we reach the finals, you reach the finals, this is what you're going to get.
Right. So it's like, where is the competitive fire? Where's the drive? Where's the I want to beat you? I want to show I'm the best. Like, so I brought up the money, right? A lot of times guys people argue and say, well, the money is so big now. So I actually did an experiment earlier. I looked up. So Michael Jordan was the first $30 million a year player in the NBA. He got, I think it was 1997 season, he made $30 million, right, G? I believe it was right around there. So I looked it up. I said, okay, $30 million. Huh?
The 33 man, right?
Yeah, it's 33. Well, the number I used was 30, so I was off. But I looked it up and I said, okay, $30 million in 1997 is how much money today? Today, that money is $58 million, right? And so, oh man, I don't know about all that. I don't know about that. I might get on tomorrow and talk about it. But yeah. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying I looked it up. I said $30 million in 1997 is equivalent to about $58 million today. So if you look at it back then, even though the numbers aren't exactly the same, the money was roughly the same in terms of how much money guys were making as compared to the average person. So even back then, when the money was exorbitant for that time, guys were still getting out there and they were competing. So why can't guys today get out there and compete? I don't understand it. Like, what is going on? And so, bottom line, players don't care about the fans. They do not have the love of the game anymore. It's just about the money. Yeah, I agree. They don't love the game the same, most of them, and it is just about the money. But like I was just saying, the money, if you compare it, it's about the same as the money was back then in terms of the average person. So they're both exorbitantly rich. It's just guys aren't built the same. But Adam Silver, he actually, what made me think about this whole segment is that Adam Silver was interviewed by the great Michael Wilbon, longtime sports journalist at the Washington Post. And I think he started maybe at the Chicago Tribune or the Sun. But anyway, he was interviewing Adam Silver prior to Game 3, I believe. And Adam Silver had some interesting comments, and it really made me sad. Check it out.
From Jerry West, who made an All-Star game in every single year he played, to an old topper for me. Not the first time I've asked Adam about this, about the All-Star game. I want to know what or who is standing in the way of a U.S. versus an international All-Star game, and if that's off the table, what can you do? Because I know how passionate you are. It's an important weekend. What can you do to fix the All-Star game?
So I don't want to overpromise, because I do remember you asked me this last year, and I said, I got this.
I wasn't going to mention that.
And honestly, my concern about U.S. versus international is that we may be just past the point where guys and teams are incentivized to play a competitive All-Star game in the middle of the season. It's just, you could speak to this, it's the nature of the league. And I look back at last year, I mean, honestly, Larry Bird, Julius Erving, others spoke to the players before the game, and I don't think any of them set out thinking we're just not going to play hard. It's just this sort of group dynamic that takes over. And yet I think about, for example, the Steph versus Sabrina shootout last year, which was a highlight of All-Star Weekend. Absolutely. And so my reaction is that maybe we need to play basketball, but we have to do something that's a little bit different, frankly, that recognizes this is about entertainment, that people want to see the players put their best foot forward, but it has to be something more than just a game. And even if it were U.S. versus international, because there's just some governor on them from playing all out, just given how long the season is and the risk potentially of injuring themselves.
So, before I even get into anything, man, what are your thoughts on what Adam Silver had to say? I think it's sad.
I don't think he has a clue on how to make the All-Star game better. As we've seen, he's just trying a whole bunch of stuff. It's like throwing spaghetti up against the wall to see what sticks. Mm-hmm. And so, as you said earlier, with the street ball version of it, and we'll let player captains choose who plays in the All-Star game. I think that was more of a U.S. style of making the game more competitive. Right, you have two of your most highest paid players become the captain, and then everyone, and they get to pick. There's a little segment about that, but as far as the U.S. versus international, I don't think that's going to produce anything other than what it already has, and it's going to continue to tank until they start thinking outside the box and looking at ways to kind of change the game within the regular season so they can be actually more competitive. Right. The game has changed so much now, and it's this is what you get, right? The exhibition game that really doesn't mean anything.
So the question is, well, first, I guess my first question is, why should these guys need to be incentivized to go out here and do their job? For instance, isn't it enough incentive that making the All-Star team gets you a boost in your pay during your next contract?
Does it?
That should be incentive.
That's
How
the
about
question.
the next incentive? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if it does, right? Like, I think, if you go out and you're a 2010 player, you're going to get paid. Like we're seeing now with the guy from the Celtics, Dark White, I believe that's his name, or maybe replacing Kawhi Leonard as on the USA team if he can't play. How did they come about picking this guy? And so they're not putting the gritty. They're not balancing the team where you have those players that can get on the court and be chippy, right? Coaches, fans like to see. I'm sorry, fans like to see a chippy game where there's a lot of intensity. There's no intensity. All the clips that you played, you see guys like just letting people shoot. They're not like hustling back on defense. And until you can replace those guys with somebody that's going to really play, and it falls on the coach, right? If you're not getting back on defense on the All-Star game, you should be subbed out. But their brand is what keeps them on the court. And so, do I need to play defense? No. They just got me here so I don't get hurt. And maybe that's a conversation that they having as well. Like, this game means nothing, and
so all great points, and everybody's different, and we understand that there are certain things inside certain people that separate them from everyone else. And where I'm going with this is the Mamba, Kobe Bryant, God bless the dead. And we saw this guy get down in the crouch in the All-Star game. That meant nothing against LeBron, and he's like, I'm gonna lock this dude up, right? We saw him blocking LeBron and stealing the ball from him and forcing him to give it up and picking him up at the hash mark, like really picking him up full court. And so that was, at that time, he was probably the best player in the league, but he was out there doing it. So why can't lesser guys get out there and do it? I don't understand it.
There's no accountability.
Mm-hmm.
There's no accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just mentioned, in the clips that you showed, and since probably since the Mamba, right?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen that. We haven't seen
Right.
somebody say, you know what, I'm going at you. Now it's like whoever scored the most points wins.
Yeah.
Whoever scored the most points win that battle. It's not how many stops you got. It's not an emphasis on the other side of the basketball, and that's the defensive side. So this is what you have, man. This is the era that we're in. How do you change that? You have to change the regular season. I believe that you have to bring back the rivals, so to speak. And my brand is better than yours. There's not a lot of that. So
Right. And I guess, I don't know, the mentality is different. Guys are different. The times are different. And so I think on the whole, societally, and not to make this a whole dissertation, but on the whole, societally, we're just not breeding the type of people. It's not the type of time that breeds the type of people that creates your Kobes and your Jordans and your Birds and your Isaiahs and those guys. It's different. And it's, I guess, the same thing. Like, I'm sure if my dad was around, he would tell me, that, our generation not as good or as diligent or as tough or as hardworking as his generation, and his father would say the same thing. And we see it. People are getting progressively weaker and lazier and so on and so forth. And yet, it's supposed to be the best and most skilled era. But that's a whole different argument. But the point I'm trying to make is, it's just
increase in testosterone.
That's a good point. No, that's a good point. Yeah, decrease in testosterone. That's a fact. But yeah, it's just crazy to watch, and you wonder, like, what can Adam Silver do? And I would think that a USA versus the world would kind of boost up the energy level, because now you're starting to deal with national pride, because we're hearing all this stuff about how the best players in the world are all international players, foreign born, etc. I mean, really, we could look at it, and not necessarily in this order, but Jokic, Luka, Giannis, Embiid, Shai Gilgeous, top 5 players in the league, they're all foreign born, right? And so there may be something to that. And so you would think that maybe if you start doing, I think you should try it once, right? You should try that USA versus international and really see, because if the US gets beat, which I think they very well might, then you would see the following year, you would see a change in mentality, because I don't know that they would allow that to go on too long, because some level of pride has to kick in at some point, right? Hello, you hear me? G, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Went out there
Yeah,
for a second.
at some point, some level of pride has to kick in, right?
That might be me.
Okay, there you go. You're back. Okay, you muted yourself again.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm back.
All right, cool. Yeah, but yeah, I was saying at some point, some level of pride has to kick in. So I would say go for it and do the US versus international. I think it would be very good. And I think at the very least for 1 year, it would boost the ratings. I think the ratings would go through the roof for that.
Yeah. I mean, you're hitting on a rival, right? Like when we saw that they picked captains, right? It was like KD versus LeBron. That was more of a rival thing, right? And so they're trying to establish a rival to get players to kind of play harder during the All-Star game. If there's no rival, it's just us versus them. It's going to turn into like a street ball type game. But when you start putting in international players, and you pitting America versus international players, now you're hitting on a hidden rival that a lot of folks don't know about and that exists, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's reasons why the league changed, and now they're going to a more international style player. You start to see Jokic winning the MVP of the league. He plays hard, right? And so let's pit them up against Embiid, right? Let's put Luka up against Embiid in the All-Star game and see how it fits. So it pretty much is trying to capitalize off of the international stage as well,
Yeah.
right? Which was one of his goals as well, right? He wanted to make it a more international friendly game. And so, I mean, from a business standpoint, it makes sense, right? But is that going to bring back, the chippiness, the defense? I don't know. If they decide to do it, we'll have to see.
Well, all I know is they need to do something. But at the same time, I'm starting to think the NBA doesn't really care and they're just pretending, because no matter what product they put out there, they're still getting the money. It's a decreasing TV product, but yet they still got $76 billion in the media rights deal. So I don't know that they care too much.
Business is good. I mean, we seen when the split from the ABA split, or I'm sorry, not the split, but the integration of the ABA and that changed. Yeah, the merger changed the game, right? And now they're trying to figure out another way to probably make it more enjoyable for the fans. All these are really great points by Will Barn. I think Adam just, he kind of sidestepped the question a little bit. You got to try. I mean, if you can try, like, hey, we're gonna pick two captains and they're gonna pick the team. I don't really care about what's the outcome of the All-Star game. So you guys do what y'all think is best because y'all the players. But yeah, I don't know. Until we get some level of competitiveness, you see guys getting up and down. And I said this multiple times, getting up and down the court and playing and talking stuff on the court. That's not happening. So this is what we get. You making me play, pretty much. That's what it feels like. It's like somebody, you got picked for the All-Star game. Now you get made. Now they making you to play.
It used to be an honor.
Yeah, it used to be an honor. So now it's just exhibition. It means nothing.
Right.
And that's why I said if you incentivize it, you may be able to get players to work a little harder, and and maybe if you put emphasis on rebounds and steals more than you do points, rebounds, steals, and block shots more than you do points, you may be able to get some level of foundation back into the game, where there's more than just somebody stopping at the hash mark because they don't, they want to stay in the whole game, right? It still goes down to coaching, but when you're a superstar and you're getting paid money, they want to see that brand on the court. That's all I got on that.
You're right. All right, we'll leave it right there. Anybody wants to call in, give us your thoughts on the state of the All-Star game and what you think the NBA might be able to do in order to make it a better product and try to save it before it ends up going the way of the NFL Pro Bowl. Give us a call, 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Give us a call. Hopefully we can hear your thoughts on this before we go on to the last topic of the night. Nino, what's good, my man?
What's going on, man? The best show. Hey, we need to take this ESPN see if we can get a deal for it, man.
I appreciate you, brother. I
Hey,
appreciate
this is a
you.
good show.
Thank you, man. What you got?
My thoughts on the NBA All-Star game really is.
Hold on one second, Antoine. If you can hear me, man, let me finish this call and then you call me back. All right, we're gonna get to you next. Go ahead, Nino.
I feel like the media gotta take some responsibility on the like the All-Star game and the regular season. You say why I say that?
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm listening.
I believe that the media put so much on you gotta win the championship that they diluted the regular season and the All-Star game. Anything a player do, his accomplishment, in the regular season, you hear all on First Take, which they have. I like First Take in Undisputed, but it was he didn't win the championship. It don't matter what somebody do, they say he didn't win the championship. So after a while, you know, I'm a little bit before social media, and you remember when there was no social media.
Correct.
But a player didn't see. You see every day on TV, every game. I don't care what he do in the regular season. I'm waiting for the championship. How many times have you seen that on talk shows and everybody say that?
That's a great point. That's a great point that you make. I think what happened there, sorry, cut you. I think what happened is that when you start talking about the all-timers and the great of the greats, that's where you start separating it out and where championships start becoming a separator, among other things, but championships is one of the main ones. Winning and how somebody won and how much they won, right? I think on that level, but to your point, it's too often, especially while guys are playing, that everything is this quick jump to Hall of Famer or legacy and what's their career going to be when they're all done and they got to win championships instead of focusing. And I think you're right, because when me and Jay are about the same age, and I know he'll agree with this, when we were in high school and a little before, we used to love every game. Every game we could watch, we wanted to watch it, whether it was regular season or postseason. Am I right, G?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I remember I watch AI every game AI play. I'm watching regular season.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Like AI, I was just going to say, like AI and Kobe, we were saying, you know, it was like amongst ourselves, like, man, Kobe could be, he like Mike. And it was like, Bron could be like Mike, but it wasn't, when he got 27, some people was on TV every day saying Bron better than Mike, or people on TV saying he got to win 6 to be like Mike. They hearing this every day. So I believe that helped influence the decision to go to Miami in the first place. If he like, hold on, I can't go. Even if I make the finals or do this, I can't be considered as one of the top unless I win. What if I go like he took the first team to the finals? So I'm thinking everybody else seen it. Because let's be real. Shaq dominant, Bron, Wade, Kobe, all the greats that come up before this generation want to be like MJ. I wanted to be like MJ. I didn't have it. I didn't have it.
Of course. Who didn't want to be like Mike, right?
Yeah. But I'm thinking that the media was what they was trying to do. Like you say, they was doing it too early. I feel like we shouldn't give players that much. Why even Bron right now, we shouldn't even be talking about till you get done. Then it's time for these discussions. They already like Luka right now. They saying Luka is the next Bron. So you know Luka, but some people saying you got to win a championship. So what is that doing for Luka? How is he thinking about that? Like, dang, I got to win.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
I think.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and it's unfortunate. And as a media member, I can see that. But yeah, it's definitely tough. I think the media in a lot of ways shapes a lot of the discussion, like a lot of the, not to let LeBron hijack the conversation, but a lot of the talking points you hear from the people that are in favor of LeBron, a lot of that stuff is coming directly from media mouthpieces. So I totally get it.
I remember Stuart. You remember ESPN and Sports Center, man. We used to watch the same thing about every day. Every night it'll come on today. and it was highlights and people breaking down the game.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you be talking on your podcast. Now it's more so of debate. It's too much debating. About this and that.
No, I agree. That seems to be kind of the way things have gone, but I think that's kind of starting to fade out a little bit. Now you're seeing more discussion. Now you're still seeing a lot of narrative, but you're still seeing more discussion and less debate. And so, I mean, you know, a debate is good from time to time, but a whole show themed around debate is you're seeing that fading out a lot more now.
Yeah, we used to have something for the barbershop. Now you gotta go on TV.
That's right. You got anything else for me, Nino, before I let you go, man?
No, I'm just listening to y'all talking about this All-Star game. I don't know how you gonna fix that.
I don't know either, brother. I don't know, man. But I appreciate your feedback as always, man. Thank you for listening.
Oh yeah. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Antoine, go ahead. Give me a call back if you're still available. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, man. G, what you think about what Nino had to say, man?
I think he was spot on.
I think he was too.
Yeah, he was spot on.
And you know, it's tough as a media member and somebody who went to school for this and all that. And you know, I guess the whole point is you got to be objective and all that. It's tough sometimes to hear, you know, when somebody says, "Hey, the media has a major responsibility in some of this stuff that we're seeing," and it's true though. If you're going to be objective, you got to be able to see both sides, and you got to be able to admit, you know, when you're wrong. And he had a very good point there.
I think the NFL suffers also from the same type of narratives that they push, especially when it comes to. I'm going to
go ahead and take this call, man. Hold that thought, G. Antoine, what's good?
How's it going? Can you hear me clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Regarding this topic, man, this is for me.
I'm sorry. Say again.
And I said for me, regarding the changes to the All-Star game is a difficult one because, you know, I can tell that UNG probably grew up in it. I think we all grew up in the same era when they had pride in what they did.
Mm-hmm.
The All-Star game, it was an exhibition, you know, for the fans, and there was an excitement for that. But when that fourth quarter came, they played because at the end of the day, it was about competition, like, you know, who was the best in the East, who was the best in the West, and, you know, so it was almost like a precursor to what the finals going to be like, you know, whether it was MJ or Magic, whatever. They really went at each other in that fourth quarter. And to G's point, and I wanted to say it, but he said it better than I could say it. I think that died with Kobe, and you know, and I'm not in the no pun with that, obviously.
Right.
But
right.
It, you know, as far as the competitiveness and stuff like that,
mm-hmm.
and you seen MJ pass him the torch. You seen Kobe carry that torch. And I think that torch dropped and fizzled out with Kobe.
Can I ask you something before you go on?
Go for it.
All right. So
mm-hmm.
I know that I'm known as a LeBron hater. Whatever. I got to wear that. I'm not. I tell the truth about him, but I got to wear that. But do you think, in all seriousness, that because we all see that LeBron lacks the competitive drive like those other all-timers, right? We know he doesn't have that, which is why he's always tried to skirt competition, right? Do you think that the other players coming up behind him have seen that and subconsciously kind of fallen into that as well in terms of lacking the competitiveness?
I look at it from this perspective, and I use this analogy. And this is directly towards LeBron. You know how parents have a kid, and instead of letting they yes me yes and they no me no, kid might complain. And then they, you know, don't punish them like they said they would. And they keep doing it. And they
mm-hmm.
keep doing it. And keep doing that. And eventually, that kid doesn't have no respect for their discipline because they've been allowed to get away with so many things that they said they can get disciplined for. To me, that's what the NBA is like today. It's like with the empowerment and stuff like that. And should these players get more money and stuff like that? To me, that goes to MJ. Barkley, all them players, because Jordan is on such a whole other level. He actually put a clause in his contract that he has to have love for the game.
Yep.
So he was on a whole nother level. He loved the game. He loved the fans. How many times you hear about Jordan, Dominique, Kobe, all these other all-time greats to talk about, if there may be a person that see me one time a year, I don't want to disappoint that person because some more people that come to the games and view the game, whatever, that's money in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like this generation has a gross disconnect from that because they've benefited from the sacrifices of players before them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the grind. I remember something I said to my son. I said I gave the juxtaposition between our generation. When we had to do book reports, stuff like that, we had to go to the library. We had to get the encyclopedia and the reference work and study those books and then put the information. They can Google stuff.
That's right.
And get it at an instance or YouTube it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, when we got information, it stayed with us because we had to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. And that, to me, that's kind of an example of the way the NBA is today. They really don't have to work that hard for it because of the road that the players, the greats before them paved. Whether it's, they talk about the private jet and stuff like that. When these players was wearing Chuck Taylors and cramped up on regular buses to get to games. So
mm-hmm.
the mindset, the drive that to make things better, to do better, to beat the competition isn't there. And it's grossly displayed in all the antics. I don't want to say antics, but all the different tricks and whatever that Adam Silver is trying to do today to basically, acquiesce to these players to. It's hard for me to. I don't know how to explain it in the right way.
No, I get what you're saying, and it's a great point and a great analogy. I hadn't thought about that.
And so now he didn't back himself into a corner. It's like he don't know what decision to make, because they talk about that big contract, and I'm glad you brought that out. But is those really true numbers? Because the viewership is not there, and I think they probably did in a way where like all the things they see online, the different views they get online from different stuff and how that's cut up. I don't know if that has something to do with their contract. TV viewing numbers are grossly low. So I don't know what they're doing or how they're getting these numbers or how they're working that out. But everything about the NBA financially is inflated,
mm-hmm.
but the product isn't good at all.
Right.
There's no integrity to play the game the right way. And how can you? I mean, like of course, I think about Jaylen Brown and his big contract. How do you incentivize someone that's making $300 million?
I don't know.
And that's not endorsements or anything else like that. That's just his NBA contract. So I think they're paying new stuff into a corner that I don't think they can get out of. And the way this is going, I think it's going to get worse and worse. I mean, frankly, as it pertains to the All-Star game, I did not give it any attention at all. I watched other people commentate on it, but I had no desire to watch it. I had other things to do because it's not interesting or exciting.
Yeah.
Exhibition game meant fun. And today, it doesn't mean anything at all because the players display that when they go on the court.
I got you. No, great points. G, do you have anything to add to that? You're muted, bro.
Just spitballing here, but I think because there's such a heavy emphasis on offense, maybe during the All-Star game, you kind of shine a light or you highlight more defensive players in the All-Star game, right? And let's say, for instance, you do have those 5 on your team of 10. You have those 5 really good offensive players, but then you also have like the 5 other defensive players as well, and not always just put the best offensive teams together, right? Like that's typically what happens. You put some dogs in there that can also defend and see how the All-Star game goes. But I thought he made some solid points, and I definitely agree with him. It's really hard to fix this problem here.
Yeah, I agree. Antoine, you got anything else to add before I let you go, man? Great call.
Oh, no, man. Enjoying the show, man, and enjoying the content. I'll just add this before I go, man. They need to find a way to incentivize defense because if they don't, the league will die.
I'm with you. I just don't know how they do it. But that said, I don't know if the league will die. And the reason I say that is because they know who their target demographic is, right? The league's going to die for us, but the kids, the teenagers, and the young adults who didn't see the previous generations and don't know what they're missing, they love what they're seeing. So they're going to continue pushing this product because it's my understanding. And again, I'm not a business person. So Mark, if you're there, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that you would push to the people who is going to be able to provide you the money for the longest amount of time. And so that would be the young people, right? So let's say I'm marketing to 10-year-olds. You know, God willing, those 10-year-olds have 30, 40, 50 years to watch the game and watch the league and spend their money with me versus marketing to a 50-year-old who's reminiscing on the old days and maybe isn't as enamored with this product and not only has less time literally to live and spend money with the league, but doesn't like what they're seeing. So it makes more sense to do it the other way. That's my thought. And I think that's kind of where the NBA is.
I'll push back in this respect.
Okay.
The difference between our era and the era of today is attention span. We paid attention to
that's true.
All the details. People today have an extremely short attention span.
That is true.
So that's why their peaks and valleys come so fast at them. And with the rate that they're going right now, it's not sustainable. You know, even though everyone is in love with the three, the game is so hard to watch, and the viewership is proving that. So it's not sustainable model. They keep coming up with all these different, tricks and all this other stuff because they can't advertise their actual game for what it is. And the essence of the game, if you can promote that, anything you put in there is going to keep fizzling out. They keep coming up with these gimmicks and tricks to try to keep people's attention because their attention is so short. So I agree with you to a certain point, but I just think, and it's already showing, that if they don't get back to something that's substantive, it's not going to work.
All right, so
I'll leave that there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
I appreciate you, man. Last comment on this topic, I'm going to go along and kind of follow up on what Antoine said there, is that he does have a point in terms of the attention span, etc. And where that kind of takes us is social media plays a huge role in that, right? Because the way the NBA is played now, packaged and marketed, and I think G and I were talking about this before the show started today, right? With the social media, what do you want? You want high speed, high action clips, right? You want dunks, you want threes. You don't want someone to have to actually watch the whole game because to that point, our attention spans have drastically decreased, and that's by design. So now the NBA is the social media league of all our professional sports leagues, and they've done that, and they love that they've done that, and that's how they push it, that's how they package it, that's how they market it. G, what do you think about that? Am I off on that?
No, I think you're spot on. Media pretty much dictates what narratives get pushed, and there's heavy emphasis on offense. We don't want to. We want it to be a more of a snowflake style league, and not the gritty, nitty gritty league that we grew up watching. And that's. I think you hit it spot on.
But I think you can have the gritty league, but you can also have the fast pace. Like, remember when we were small and when we were growing up out west, it was always run and gun. Of course, Showtime Lakers and the Denver Nuggets and all that. And then in the East, the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons and Boston Celtics, more grinded out ball. Now, they could obviously get in the fast break if they needed to, but it was a more grinded out style. And I think that's probably cultural as well. But the point is, this is something that you've always seen, but that didn't mean that you had a lower grade of basketball on the whole. Okay, there you go. Wilt said the same thing about MJ's era. So I guess each era is going to say something similar to what we're saying about the next one. So I guess it is what it is.
So
Yeah.
the Malice and the Palace, right? We go to the Malice and Palace
Mm-hmm.
with Ron Artest and Steven
Steve Jackson.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you fast forwarded to the what Donkey, the white, or not what's Donkey name? I can't think of his name. But the Golden State guy that chokes everyone out, and
Oh,
you know, he
Draymond.
Draymond plays really solid defense, but at the same
Mhm.
time, you know, you can't highlight defense with him because, you know, halfway through the game, he's either
Right.
kicking somebody in the nuts or he's choking them out. And so,
Right.
you know, it's kind of hard for them to, you know, not turn the page and try to make it a softer, more gentle league and, you know,
Mhm.
keep it G. Whereas you have these players that, you know, clearly are, you know, hell of a extremely superior athletes, but
Right.
there's nobody locking. There is no Luka stopper. There is no Jokic stopper that's, you know, been advertised in the media. And so, you know, what we have is just a heavy offensive game, just like we do in
Mhm.
the NFL.
Right. Right.
You know, people want to see 3-point shots and, you know, and dunks, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to see you stopping them from doing that.
No.
If they wanted to, you know, they would be a little tighter on the travel calls and the carry, like we saw during the AI era, right? Like
Mhm.
it was a different game, man. But I don't know how you fix this, man. I really don't. Yeah, but yeah.
All right. Well, let's leave it there.